2000 XR600R number 2. It's time to get back to the plan. Phase 1 is complete and it's on to Phase 2. Phase 2 is like discovery and fix-up. I've ridden this bike a couple times and it has some issues. Number one issue causing me not to be able to ride it much at all is it's missing the little ball bearing in the choke. The choke is spring-loaded inside the carburetor, and when you have it down, because of the spring load and the fact that the ball bearing's missing right up here, just the wind going by makes the choke come on again. So I got a funny story about that. I went to buy the bike and it was running like crap when I went to ride it, because you go take off and as soon as you hit 20 miles an hour, the choke comes back on. So it would barely run, and I thought that I left the choke on, but it wasn't the case. It came on. So with that said, I got to fix that and then make further determinations how well it's running. Be aware this is a California model and has the oil separator canister. Later on I'll be doing away with that. This 2000 XR has its share of battle wounds, but if you take a look at it, it's relatively unused. It hasn't been trail ridden a lot. There's very few horrible scratches from trail riding. Looking in places like right down in there, that's new looking stuff. Although it has other areas here, you can see something's funny. It's got some wear marks or something funny going on. And as you look at the frame, it has very little dings and scratches. Everything's looking pretty good. Again, it has an IMS tank, which I'll never use that. That's going to be on the bike I try to sell because of ill fitting. You know, they make a tank specifically for the XR600 and they don't make it to fit. Even worse is this side. It fits horribly here. And what that causes, due to the bolt-on, it causes your side cover to bend funny. Probably has a permanent bend in it. Again, a lot of the parts are looking brand new or little usage. Hardly any scrapes. Here's a scrape, here's a scrape. Teeny little scratch. But overall it's looking good. Hardly any boot wear on the heat shield. It's got some issues. I noticed when I did the little amount of riding I did, I noticed that, number one, if you look at that, the front fender is not lined up with the front wheel. Now that could be that they never, this is probably a UFO or something, some other brand fender. It's not Honda. Could be they didn't drill the holes right. Also, regardless of the fender, when you ride on it, you can see that the handlebars are not lined up with going straight down the road. Now the handlebars look straight. They don't look bent. They're factory steel handlebars for a 2000. It does have 30mm risers installed. And it could be that, for instance, you can see they've been down, they've gone down, and that discolors the plastic on these hand guards. Obviously it's been down. And over on this side it's been down. This side is the one side that, due to the direction of the misalignment, I would think that going down on this side has put us out of alignment. Now, it could be that the forks are not in the triple tree straight. Could be a number of things, but I need to see what's up with that, see what's bent, see what's out of alignment. Get rid of this headlight on here and put something on for temporary usage. And if I get that aligned and straightened out, then I'll know how to proceed. So that'll be phase 2, is discovery and straightening out stuff, just to further make the decisions how I'm going to proceed. Okay, seat and tank are off now, and just look at that. That's not even been on a dirt road, has it? That's in good shape. Splash shield in good shape, highly pliable, not messed up. This is a good seat. IMS tank, I'll never put that on my bike. Look what it did to the oil tank heat shield. Just trying to get it on, they jacked it up. IMS tank uses the factory front mounts, and the back mount is hokey. Still uses the regular strap, but it's got to come through that loop, and those straps are susceptible to breakage. So I think it busted it up. I've had the seat off once before, not the tank, but I did a repair, temporary repair, top and bottom. That's one way to get a little more life out of it. I have replacements, but I didn't want to put a new one on there, especially putting it on an IMS tank. IMS, get it together. The other thing, IMS only has one petcock on one side. So that means you've got all this gas on the other side. Plus, the low spot in the tank is lower than the petcock by far. You have almost a gallon of gas. Even when you have run out on reserve, you still have a gallon in there that you can't draw in. Okay, so here's a closer look at the 2000 XR number 2 with the seat and tank off. Baja Designs kit, Baja Designs rectifier, and you can tell it's their kit. It's got an hour gauge on it. It has 48 hours. 48.6 hours. That's low hours. It's dirty under here, sure. That's an area you don't get to easily because of the IMS tank, or any tank. There is another thing I'm going to show you, and that is something I had not seen before, but it is on the 2000. Before you put your side cover on, you're supposed to install this on the airbox. I never seen this except for on the 2000. So that snaps into place and seals off your airbox a little better. I think we can do away with that. When I set this back up, it's going to be like earlier models. It's not going to be like Smog Emission Control 2000 California. I have another choke lever available off of a 2000 XR600. It's my number 1 unit that I parted out earlier, and it has the ball bearing. I assume that one's missing the ball bearing. We're going to take that off now and see if we can't put this straight. Okay, so I was going to put the choke lever on, but I got in here with a screwdriver and noticed that the Phillips screw here just wasn't tight enough to hold down on the original choke lever that goes with this thing. So now it works perfectly fine, and that's good for that. It works really well. California model has breathers going into the air box, into the air cleaner, through the oil separator, keying in at the junction out of the crankcase. And it should still have a breather down there, but this one doesn't. It doesn't go anywhere. It's like a closed system. So they're sending all these vapors back into the motor, trying to reburn gas, I guess. We are not going to be using these hand guards in my next incarnation. And since I'm trying to straighten out all the wiring here and get a temporary headlight on here, let's just get the hand guards out of the way. It'll help me to figure out what's bent on this thing. In fixing up the bike for temporary purposes, we don't need the headlight. We aren't going to run these turn signals. So let's get rid of them. Once again, there's something crooked in the front end, and having less clutter here is going to help me decide what part is bad. Damn, that's heavy. It's probably a pretty expensive light. Another possibility why this is tweaked up front could be these long ass Allen screws. I'm just going to set this down in stock fashion. When I go to ride this, we'll see. We're going to see if it makes any difference. Also, I can examine these Allen screws and see if they're the cause of it, if they're bent. Something's bent up front. I don't know what. We're not pointing straight down the road, or when we are pointing straight down the road, all this stuff up front is crooked looking, off to the right. I'll check and see if those are straight, but they seem to be straight. I don't think it's the handlebars that were bent, because everything up front was pointing funny when the tire's going straight. Kemomoto 30mm risers. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Previous owner of XR 2000 number 3 gave me this lightly used Baja Designs headlight. So I'm going to put this on as a temporary light for testing purposes to get this bike closer. First thing I'm going to have to do is give this bike a little bit of battery power. I don't care about turn signals, horn, or any of that. I just want the headlight to work high and low beam. So that's next. With the handlebar switch, one click of the switch gives you power to ignition. Second switch is low beam. Third position is high beam. And I'm going to run that like it is for temporary. I took out the battery that was in there because it didn't hold any power. And I put in one that used to be in Nicky. And I took it out in March of this year because when you put it under a load, that brings it down to 10 volts. It doesn't hold the proper voltage. Nicky's got a new battery in there. So I had to hook this up. I had to do a little wiring to hook up my battery to their terminals. Had to use a few of my terminals to do so, but it was just a couple, and I kept it minimum. Looks like the taillight's on all. Okay. First click, tail light, no headlight, but that's the ignition as well. Second click, we got the headlight, the brake light switch is working. Even works on the ignition with the headlight off, and I like that. I like this 4-position switch. I'm going to have this be off, and I'll have a separate ignition switch. It'll be a key. Then I'm going to have low beam. Then I'm going to have high beam. And then I'm going to have high beam with floodlights. This is going to be great. XR 600R. It's a 2000. I've got my 96 tank on it, and I just put a Baja Designs headlight on there. Took off the risers on the handlebars. I'm gonna go out for a ride. I just put a battery in it that works. It had 12 point something volts. I fixed the choke that was coming on by itself. Took off the hand guards. So now I'm going to see if it'll run straight, because handlebars were pointing the wrong way when you go down the road. So I'm going to get a little ride out of it. We're going to test out the 2000 XR number 2. It's had some fixing up today. It's my first time working on it. People who worked on it before didn't really know what they were doing too much. I took off the IMS tank because they don't fit well here, and it damages the side covers. I took off that stupid LED headlight and put on a light temporarily that has a high and a low beam. I've disconnected the horn and took the turn signals off because they weren't being used, weren't working. And I took off the hand guards. There's something wrong where you're going straight down the road and yet the handlebars don't point perfectly straight. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of that, and less clutter here is better for deciding where the problem lies. I've already made a couple tests, and I think that I just need to loosen the triple clamps and tweak the bars over to the left a hair and tighten them back up. That's probably what it is. The previous handguards that were on here certainly show signs of sustaining a get off, where it was enough to actually bend the handguard a little bit, bend the aluminum inside it. So I've run it a little bit already. I've gone 14 miles, and the bike runs good. Previously, trying to drive it, the choke would come on it after if you got over 20 miles an hour just from the wind. I found out why that was and solved that, so I didn't have to make any mods on that on the carburetor. And of course it's got the California emissions on it, the oil separator. Eventually I'm going to be taking that off and making this like a non-California bike or a pre-emissions bike. when I go to change all this up and put all my goodies on this frame and motor, I'll be putting on non-emissions air box and doing the plumbing like other XRs are. So here you go. Here's your chance to get a realization of how the bike's running. The motor runs smooth. About the only thing I can say about it is that, I mean, it runs smooth and it's not ticking or anything like that, but I have a sensation of imagine the cam chain sliders are down to the metal. It sounds like the chain's dragging over that. The motor runs good and has good power. It's not ticking. And this motor has low hours on it. So I'm really looking forward to getting some longevity out of my next build. Here we are going straight down the road, and if you look down here, see how the handlebars aren't pointing straight? That's pretty non-straight right there. Could even be the triple trees bent, for all I know. Which, if I had to, I could switch that out. That's way bent. Something's funny there. You know, to be going down the road and have your handlebars look like that. I mean, the handlebars look straight themselves. They're just not, something about it isn't mounted right. It's very odd. And I tried to take a lot of this clutter off of here so I could see better, you know, where the bending's at. But I still can't tell. I can't tell. Again, though, I think the triple trees are just not straight up. And it is hard to tell. I got the cables in the way. Otherwise, what I'm trying to do is get an angle to see the crossbar as opposed to the high spots where the forks come through. We can't get to the turn lane because of these people. if I go by the air caps here on the top of the forks, it lines up perfectly with the crossbar on the handlebars. So I just got to think that the forks are a little tweaked within the triple trees. You know, and I'm real curious about that. It wouldn't be that hard to loosen the nuts and bolts, tweak it, tighten it back up, see if that made a difference. I think that's got to be what it is. So I'll quit worrying about that for right now and just enjoy the ride. I don't have insurance on this bike yet, so I don't need to be pulled over by the police department. Not at all. I mean, I got insurance on like 4 or 5 other bikes, 6 other bikes, but not this one. And I just took the turn signals off and all. So there was a cop back there, and I'd like to stay away from him. Let's see if we can hear the motor in this recording. Yeah, that sounds okay from here. You know, all the time I've ever had 600s, I've noticed that the sound of the motor is amplified through the gas tank. Well, yeah, I'd have to say this motor's working pretty good. It's gonna do me right. Well, that's about the end of the bike work for today. It's hot. I'm hungry. And let's get some leisure time in.